Hey everyone, welcome back to another Reddit Reacts. We're going to go through a post that Danielle selected for me. I haven't seen it. Just as a reminder to disclaimer, we are not here to assess, treat, diagnose anything that's coming off of Reddit, but hopefully we are able to provide a little bit of an education and different perspective coming from a place of education around some of the things that we stumble across on Reddit. If you guys see any posts for yourselves that you ever want us to react to, please feel free to throw them in the thread underneath the video. We'll be happy to look at it and maybe use it in an upcoming video for ourselves. So thanks for being here and listening.
All right. So this post, we can't actually read the content of OP's post. However, the title and the comments were, I think, interesting enough. So the title is, How Do You Deal with Dark Intrusive Thoughts? And it was flagged as serious. Serious replies only. So that means I didn't want people, like joking or, making troll comments or whatever.
Yeah, I'm sure there still are many of those though. It is
So
Reddit after all.
yes. So I'll read some of the comments to you and we'll see what we come up with, keeping in mind that this person's wanting help for dark intrusive thoughts.
Okay.
All right. Distraction. It doesn't stop them from coming back, but if they do come back, I just distract myself some more.
That was the first word, distraction was
That
the
was
response.
that was the yep, distraction.
It'd be like a trigger word for me. If you guys saw our other video, I had a nice little statement to say about distraction. So I'll get on my soapbox again for a minute. That is not helpful for intrusive thoughts.
Nope.
Just anything you do to try to distract yourself from those thoughts is teaching those thoughts that they're so dangerous that you have to do something to get away from them, which in turn is going to make those thoughts keep popping in more and more and more as time goes on. So please know distraction is not going to help you with intrusive thoughts of any kind. Oh, these always get me a little triggered. But anyway, continue.
I've got another one for you while you're feeling roughly.
Great.
One word, alcohol.
Yeah, that's probably even worse than distraction. It is worse than distraction.
It's worse
And
than
it is
distraction.
probably a form of distraction if we want to reframe it that way too. Like
Could be.
stay away from coping with anything through the use of substances. Alcohol is not going to be helpful for you. Alcohol, well, honestly, it may in the moment kind of drown out some of the thoughts, but I don't know if you've seen this firsthand from the work that you've done, but anybody that I've worked with that have used alcohol to cope, it is skyrocketed their symptoms.
Yes.
Alcohol is a depressant. It's going to increase the intrusive thoughts. It's going to make the days after the alcohol use so much harder. It's like
Mm-hmm.
a big slap in the face that those intrusive thoughts come back with after using substances like that. So, yeah, that's a
That's
awful suggestion.
that's a doozy. And to kind of piggyback off that, I've seen that a lot too, especially if you have anybody with well, really any theme, but sometimes with like harm themes. Just after people are like, oh my gosh, did I do something harmful or bad when I was drinking? Right. So it really can just
Oh,
snowball the intrusive thoughts.
yeah, that's such a good point. I forgot about that too, right? So if you're kind of drinking and losing your memory a little bit, then
Mm-hmm.
OCD, if this is OCD that we're talking about here, is going to love to take advantage of that and be like, oh, you didn't remember like a half hour of your night. What if you did XYZ during that time? Now
Totally.
you better go figure it out or like get in the depths of your brain to resurrect those
Mm-hmm.
memories and know for sure, which we know we'll never
Yeah.
be able to. So, oh,
Mm-hmm.
two horrible suggestions. Do not distract yourself. Do not seek
Oh,
alcohol to cope with your mental health symptoms.
yes. Yes. Um, this says therapy. I can't give you any other suggestions because I'm not a professional, but if there's one thing I do know, it's that intrusive thoughts are a real problem many people seek therapy for.
Yay. Okay, that's a win.
Okay. That was a good
Yes.
one. Mhm.
Seek therapy. Seek support. That's what it's there for.
Yes, totally. Totally, totally. This poster or commenter says, I acknowledge them and mentally rehearse telling them to someone like, oh man, I totally just thought it was a great idea to touch a strange person. Of course, nothing bad would possibly happen. I almost never actually tell someone, but thinking about how I would phrase it with the right level of humor and whatnot changes my focus just enough till they go away.
Hmm. Okay. I see what
Interesting
that
one.
person, yeah, I get what they're trying to do. I appreciate the approach. But again, like if we have to rehearse around those thoughts, then what are we teaching those thoughts? They're so
Mhm,
meaningful that we have to do something immediately about them when they pop up, which
mhm.
then is going to reinforce them to keep happening. So I appreciate the attempt there, but I wouldn't take that route.
It almost sounds like we're moving towards like externalizing OCD, like being able to
Yeah.
almost like call it out for what it is, but then there's also this like, oh, I'm rehearsing it and I've got to get it so it's got like, this level of humor and blah blah blah. So that's where I think it
Tips the scales a
moves
little.
into compulsion territory. Yes,
Yeah.
like almost ish, but like, some things to definitely fine tune there.
Can you, for anybody watching that isn't familiar with the term externalization, can you just speak to that really quickly?
Yeah, sure. So, externalizing is really when you start to kind of think about OCD as almost like outside of yourself. So, it can be a really helpful strategy with, I think, any age group. We see it a lot when we're working with kids, right? We'll call it, like the worry monster or the bully or give it a name, Fred or whatever, right? And really thinking about it as kind of this like external or like outside of yourself character and teaching kids, like talk back to the bully or the worry monster. But really with it, we're trying to teach people that you don't have to like engage with it, so you don't have to like have a full out conversation, arguing the pros and cons, or try to think about is it true or isn't true. You can just choose not to engage with Fred or OCD or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, whatever little monster. I have my own vision of OCD. Maybe I'll share that in a future video. But yeah, the externalizing can really be helpful. So yeah, you're right. I heard like a piece of that in there, but then it just goes into a little bit more where we want to stay away from for actually getting help and support with a disorder like that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Cold water on the face.
It's not expecting that.
I figured I'd try and catch you off guard a little bit.
Oh my God, yeah, it's like waterboarding. Like, what are we doing? No, please. We're not here to torture people or like the other one is like the rubber band method, right? Like
Yeah.
that's not going to help your intrusive thoughts. Please don't start splashing cold water on people's faces or in your own face.
I think, yeah. And you know what? Like, there's a lot of, just kind of like out in the world amongst, people, there's a lot of thoughts around like ice packs, cold water, stuff like that for anxiety, intrusive thoughts, OCD, right? Like, you might come at us for this, but those don't actually fix anything. If
Yeah,
anything, they might give you like, you know, maybe they kind of snap you back in the moment for like half a second because you're like, oh my God, my face is cold. But then like you're right back into it.
yeah, it's not going to fix the root issue there. Um, I think sometimes we take like general wellness practices too, and then
Mhm.
like try to use them as applications or treatment protocols for like very specific disorders that need very specific treatment, and those are not items that are going to be helpful for there.
Right. Yep. Yep.
That was a fun one.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, all right, I'll end it with this one. So I utilize methods laid out by Dr. David Burns in cognitive behavioral therapy. See the book Feeling Good, The New Mood Therapy for more information. I actually like that book. That's like a good book for depression. It's got some solid CBT strategies. Essentially, I understand that my automatic thoughts, as he call them, are not me. They are not mine. They're just automatic. Therefore, I don't attribute any motive to them or act like they reflect on me as a human being. I try to make sure they have little to no bearing on my emotional state or decision making.
Okay, that's very fair.
Hmm. Yeah.
I, out of all those choices, that's the one that we're gonna go with.
Yep. Yeah. This one I think is nice because it's really where we're trying to get to end goal with OCD. We're operating under the assumption or, kind of framing this in OCD. Who knows? It might be OCD that this person's having dark intrusive thoughts with. It might be depression, right? We don't know because then again, we don't know them. But where we're trying to get to with OCD is to really be able to have a thought that feels, uncomfortable, unwanted, and let it be, let it pass. We don't have to engage with it. We don't have to give it meaning. It doesn't have to say anything about our morals, characters, or values, right? So yeah, cool.
Yeah, let's end with that because I need I need a little breather from some of these sometimes. Yeah, that's the best advice out of the day. But yeah, thanks everybody for joining and watching. And like I said, feel free to toss any suggestions of posts that you might have come across on Reddit. That way we can take a look at them as well. Just know that we have a lot of like appreciation for all of the people commenting in these threads. We're just coming at it from an educational perspective, not trying to be judgmental in any way, but definitely don't use alcohol to cope. I'll leave it at
Yes. If we have one takeaway of the day.
that. Yeah, please. All right. We'll see you guys soon.